Bueno. Bé, bona tarda a tothom i moltes gràcies per venir. Comencem aquesta conferència emmarcada dintre del Festival Demo, que és aquesta iniciativa des de l'ADI i FAT, en què hi ha tota una sèrie de programacions al voltant d'aquests processos creatius del disseny de producte i de la qual la confe del Sandal d'avui és de les primeres coses que passen. I li dono la paraula a la Tai Sans, que està aquí en nom de l'ADI, per que us faci una petita explicació de què és el festival i de com funcionarà durant aquesta setmana d'activitats.
L'Albert ja ha explicat molt bé de què va el projecte. Aquest any és la segona edició de Demo, en el qual es desenvolupen una sèrie d'activitats, conferències, workshops, exposicions, performance. Aquí podeu veure el programa i aquesta setmana que ve, el dissabte passat va ser la jornada Demo, que és el dia on passen moltes coses, cicle de conferències, workshops a la tarda, i aquesta setmana que ve seguim amb activitats com la conferència del Sandal, Making of, que ja és una activitat que desenvolupem habitualment a l'ADI, la presentació de l'aparador del Jardineto, que en aquest cas l'ha dissenyat el Diego Ramos, que és el comissari del projecte, i altres conferències com la de Kim Thom i Elisava. I després el dijous 5 us convidem a tots que vingueu a la festa de Cluenda, a la fàbrica Moritz, on també es presentarà Demo Futurs, que són projectes finals de carrera, de futurs projectes demo, que encaixarien potser en un futur a dintre d'aquest programa. I finalment, com a xurros, es farà una presentació s'ha fet durant un mes més o menys una col·laboració amb 4 estudis de disseny diferents per redissenyar el xurro, i tant la manera de menjar-lo com la forma, com l'extrusionat, el típic xurro tota la vida, es presentaran aquestes propostes que ens han fet aquests 4 estudis. I crec que no em deixo res. El Sandal ara us l'introduirà l'Albert. Moltes gràcies.
Gràcies, Thais. Okay, so I'm really glad. It's really good for me to introduce you Sander Wassink, who is a product designer from Holland. And this morning, as you know, I am the academic director of Elisava, and this morning we had a workshop with a few students that are learning here a double degree design degree and engineering in industrial design. And we have had fun. They have had fun, and I laughed a little. And Sander is focused on this idea of how do designers have to change or not their ways of approaching to a creative process, and to understand what values, what else can we give to design apart of what's coming from abroad, from elsewhere in the world, lots of products, lots of low-cost products, and how some designers will have to deal giving extra values or giving extra whatever, something else that can be, that can fight or balance this great mass of products that come from mainly China, from Asia, of course, but from anywhere in the world. So I think this is an important challenge for future designers, for present designers, but even for future, to understand how do we have to act in front of this mass production, and how can we show the world and show consumers and show users that we are adding something else that what is expected to happen. So here you are, Sander. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, I have no answer to anything, huh? So and I also don't have any focus. I'm going in all directions. You will see in the presentations.
Do you want me to turn the lights off, or?
Maybe it's nice, right?
I think it's here.
So I've got 180 slides. I have no idea how long this will take. Maybe half an hour, maybe 2 hours, but then I will stop before the end, I think. And the end is also not finished, so I think there it becomes a bit... So I'll first tell about the workshop that I did today. I did a project in China, and when I got asked for this workshop, I thought maybe it's nice to do the same here. It was based around the fake industry. I bought a lot of fake sneakers, and I cut them up and made them into new shoes. I will talk about the project later. So I thought I will order some shoes from China from the contact, the girl you saw before where I work with. And these were the shoes. I have this one.
Is it working?
Yes?
Yeah,
It's
sure.
not loud enough? Okay. So I know there is a problem with, of course, sending fake, so I asked her to cut them up already in 2 parts. Well, and I thought I sent on the letter that is for design school, so I thought it must be alright, but still they didn't came. They're in customs in Barcelona, so I had to think of something else at the last moment I was here, which sucks a little bit because it cost also more money, and Albert said you cannot spend more money on this workshop, so I had to do something really cheap. So I went to the Primark because it's cheap and it's sort of the same quality as the shoes I work with in China. So I went at the wrong moment because this happened in the front of the store, and you cannot see me but I'm underneath the pile of people. And when I was laying there, I got this idea about what Primark should do. They should start an airplane company. So, you know, the people who buy the clothing could also go to Bangladesh, to the factories, to buy it straight away there and fly back. I think it's a nice business opportunity. So, what I did in China as well, I thought, okay, what we need is tools where you can work with really quick. So, for the workshop, we only used a scissor and a stapler. And I asked, okay, make an idea for Primark. So this is the result of the students. I will go through very quickly what we did this morning. So the Primark Bunny, it's made out of all kinds of t-shirts, and it's for the in-house use. Just not gonna talk too much about it. I think you will. I think this is a movie. No, it doesn't. This is also quite nice. It's like the trouser is a jacket, and the arms are like from a pants. It's nice how the guy in the back also looks at her. It looks like a commercial for a fragrance or something. And they also made already the price. So I bought the jacket for 12 euros, so the trousers about 25. It could work, I think, if you have people who can staple a lot and quick. We can do it. It's more the worker. I asked also to photograph it in context. So. And this, I don't know, the students have to explain themselves, I think. Okay, why I love to be a designer is because I can explore the world every day again, make mistakes, fall in love, and get frustrated over and over again. And especially for us, being frustrated is a big part of it. Because always things don't go the way you want, and you have to change. First, I will tell you about where I work, because I think working place is the most important, at least for me, and I think for many designers. When I was studying in the design academy, after a few years, I realized, together with a bunch of other people, that we needed our own space, because we couldn't stay in the workshop at school because you have to wait in line and everything takes ages. And also we just wanted to create something that was our own and we could continue on after our studies. So we found this building. Okay, nobody wanted us anywhere, so we founded this building on the edge of Eindhoven. And together we made sort of a plan how to fill in the space. So we put all lines on the floor. And of according to what people could pay. Oh wait, I go the wrong way. So we just started building from there, and people gave us all kinds of materials. And so we decided to create a grid, and we bought a lot of these pallet racks, and these were the basis of our studio. And we made a rule: you can only build on the back side of your studio, so and the front must stay empty, so you still have sort of a free space. This was the top floor. And it was really, for me, an amazing period of my life, because it was a group feeling, and it was like learning how to make things from scratch, learning to weld, learning to do, you know, almost everything. We created a kitchen and a garden, and we had to put all our electricity ourselves. And this is the space, how it looked after a while. So it's all sort of like first of a floor there. On the left you see the workshops, you have the metal workshop and the wood workshop. Downstairs is sort of the also dirty work, and upstairs the office. So, and then we started, nobody wanted to come to us, as I said before, and then we started to do exhibitions, and we opened it the Dutch Design Week. And we were very amazed at the first time that a lot of people came already, and they really liked the space. Upstairs the kitchen. And so we started doing more exhibitions through the year, and we started doing events. So there were parties, and then museums asked us, can we do workshop lectures there? And we said yes to everything. And and we did do dinners, and even sometimes when people are working, it's quite nice. So it's a super dynamic space, and it's really about community, and this gives such a good feeling. And when I did this, I realized, wow, this is something I want to continue on in my work. So then we thought, okay, let's open up the exhibition, like make in our office, let's make it a temporary hotel in the Dutch Design Week. So we had the exhibition, and this was sort of the hotel, restaurant, breakfast, whatever. And so people stayed in the workshop in their bathrobe, and they could sleep upstairs. And that was very nice. And we did it because two hotel owners came to us, and they said, wow, this space is amazing, let's make a hotel. And we said yes, okay, let's do it. And it's like, if you are a designer, I think you can imagine from scratch, this is the nicest assignment you could have, right? To people see something you do and they say, make something like that. The budget was not that high though, but I think that's normal for every project. So we just started drawing, making. This is the extension of the hotel it's going to be, because they want more rooms. So I'm working on it now, actually. And how we started working is like we sketch. So this is a project we do with the collective. So everybody does something else. Everybody's good in something else. So we try to give everybody sort of a spot in the assignment. So we start sketching in Photoshop very quick. We have no time for 3D renderers or anything. And this is how it came to be. It's more chic than the drawing, but that's what they wanted. So this is another example for a bar. In this case, somebody else made sort of a technical drawing, which it's good because I don't like. I don't have the sort of the energy or the time to precisely measure everything and put it in a computer. So it's really good that other people do it for me. And this was a guy in our workshop, he worked with this metal, this way of using the metal. So then we said, okay, we use it in the chairs, in the furniture. This is not built yet. For every project we built also designs ourselves. So this is the chairs and the tables that were for the hotel. We just do it in our workshop. It's like one-offs, but it's like we have a really close line to designing and making. So you can just go out of your office and say, okay, make it like this or that. This on the left side, you see objects that I made for an exhibition. I used glass, a lot of glass for molding. Why? Because I didn't have money and time and energy to make shapes from on a lathe. So I just thought, what can I use cheap and break? So it was glass. And then on the other side, you see we had a lot of glass left. So I thought, wow, that's nice. But only a year after this hotel came, so we just started to make, we said, okay, we make these lamps for the hotel. Which is very interesting because I found out that I can buy always second-hand glass. It's almost like I go to the hardware shop, and every piece of glass has different texture, different shape, different feel, so it's always unique. So it's some raw material that is like, it's really precious, because you can also get it always. So we started making the lamps for the hotel, and the nice thing is that afterwards we show it in Milan. Well, here you see also we make the tools all ourselves to bend the legs for the lamps. So we make also in our studio a small production line. So we started with 12 for the hotel, and I think we made in the last year around 250 of these lamps. So it's like really crazy, and I'm also fed up with it now because it's like it's the only thing that we were doing. And so we made Polaroids for every lamp, put it on the box. And we work with interns, which is very nice because this process, what I like about it so much is that the maker in the production process has his own influence. So there's a system of making, but you still have to be a bit, you know, have the eye for combinations to make these lamps. And it's, yeah, I think it's very nice also for the interns to see. They come to my studio to do internship, but I think especially the space is something that is really, really nice for them to see how other people create something. So I also always say like make everything. If you have an idea, just okay, you can make a sketch, but just try if it works. You know, get the material and put it back together. So if you're an intern, you are like you're trying a lot of things. Especially only not when in the lamp period you were making lamps all the time. So for the persons who were there, it sucked. So this is the workshop from another direction. So we did also before like projects that were bigger. Now we outsource these kind of things, but it was so nice that we could do it in our space as well. And making things yourself means you understand the material, you understand how things work. So it's called Collaboration O, yeah, it has really determined a lot for me. So I left the space now and I'm traveling. I'm not sure if I come back there or if I'm gonna do something else. I also wanted to leave because if you're a long time in a space, you also get a little bit stuck about how some things are working, and I mean sometimes you need some air. And well, traveling is very nice, especially if you go. I went to China quite a lot. There must be a reason for it. I don't know, it was not my choice, but I meet a lot of people from Europe, especially designers and architects who are in China because there's simply so much happening. I mean, the dynamics are very different, the city is very different. And I got really interested in sort of this organically growing of architecture, which you have maybe more in Spain, but in Holland you don't have it at all. In Holland everything is structured and organized, which is also good to a certain degree, but it's also sometimes very suffocating. And I started to develop this idea that organically growing in architecture is something which is very human. Although sometimes, and I like this guy made a book and he made actually very nice drawings of the houses, of the hutongs, which change every year. And I got amazed by the fake. China fakes literally everything you can imagine. So first of all, I know about the brands, about the phones, but also entire cities they fake. And I saw a lot, I got a lot in contact with the issues of modernization, like the unbelievably quick modernization of the country. So this is an area on the left, which in the bottom there are people who, it's almost, you could call it a slum, and you see the big towers of electricity going to the towers, the building blocks in the back. And Beijing is the most smog city in the world. I mean, the page on the left side is, the photo on the left side is quite clean, but most of the times you are on the right side. It's like when you come from the first time, it's a bit dystopian feeling. I learned the idea of having personal and collective in a sort of a smooth way. And this photo, maybe you know this photo, I think it's amazing because this guy, I don't know, the people who lived there didn't want to move, so they just started to build a highway around it. And then they tore it down. So this photo is like, will stay forever. But I was thinking straight away, how great would it be if this would become a monument of extreme modernity, of quick modernity. Just keep it in the middle of the road. I mean, we in Holland, I don't know if you have it in Spain, we spend a lot of money on art, on roundabouts in the middle. So this would be a perfect, already existing piece of art. This was around the time when I was there, and it is also amazing. I mean, I didn't know that a building could fall over like that and just stay in one shape. And I also thought, wow, this is, if you would keep this like that and make a park around it and you make a sort of a tunnel through it, this would be a monument that, you know, people from Europe actually come to see. So it could be a very good business model also for tourism in China. But sadly, of course, they break it down. And the amount of people, when I was the first time in Beijing, I did a presentation about the 9-day traffic jam. So there was a traffic jam that took 9 days. So the people, yeah, these are just some photos I put in between about the people because I just couldn't leave it out. I mean, this is amazing, no? So we found out in the traffic jam that a car drives 12 kilometers per hour in Beijing. So there would be no traffic jam if every car could go 12 kilometers per hour. So we started thinking about how can we make a city that is like going just 12 kilometers per hour constantly. Well, and this is Holland. I mean, it's a total difference, right? So I just started photographing also a lot. And this is everywhere, like these things that are like, the right side is what happened when there was some construction going on, and of course the left side is afterwards, when they put it away again. But there are these things that are aesthetically for me so interesting because there are so much things you cannot really expect. So when I can, I take a photo, and I was working on a booklet like this, but it's of course not finished because I have all these other things that I also want to do. So I also started then experimenting, this was still in my studies, with like these shapes and spaces that organically evolve. This was, I also did it in a workshop. It's like I made one cube like for human size, and then I started expanding it in all directions. So in the top there is a bed. And this was, again, an example for the space that I had there, that I could just do this kind of projects. You know, you could never do this in the academy. It felt like freedom. So I started experimenting again with this, just with other people, coming in a space and all the time taking material and adding it up and creating something like this. And movability. I mean, this is a shop just welded on spot, moved around. I got very interested in movability, flexibility. And this image is just for me, very appealing. How great it would be if you could move your house around. So we made for some clients this kind of project, which is always super hard because it never works out the way you want. It's like a conceptual idea, and then for a client, it's like it sucks. So we made these grid houses where they could put new material in, but of course nobody really does it the way you hope it would. And these scooters that just drive around, and they're taped together, and I mean, it just works. I mean, why not? So I just, here I also understood, like, okay, there's an aesthetic, there's interesting, but there's also something that I have to realize, that copying this aesthetic is also a bit stupid. So I didn't want to copy this aesthetic. And this chair is just like perfectly balanced. I mean, it's like, it works, right? I mean, you don't need anything else. So then, okay, this is a nice photo, but it doesn't belong here. So then I came to Denmark. It was like a month ago, and I went to this fair, and I came to this exhibition, and there was these designers who said on this flyer or poster that they were striving for the perfect chair. And maybe after all you saw it before, for me this perfection in a chair is like something that I don't understand. I mean, what does that mean? And I said, the perfect chair is just a fucking chair. I mean, it's a nice chair, but it cannot be perfect. So I do understand the idea of perfection in making, and I think the craftsman is someone that strives for perfection constantly. He is, tries to do everything in a way that it feels nice, it feels good. So in that sense, I understand it. But once I think you mass produce something, this perfection is sort of gone. I mean, it should be then maybe about, changing the perfection in production as well. And I also wondered, like, why do we always photograph our products on a white background? I mean, it's like heaven, or I just started to wonder, why is this? And of course, I understand magazines want it like this. I mean, it should be perfect. But when I'm working and I'm sitting here in the chair, I really don't think about the chair. I don't even know what chair I'm sitting on. And I think other companies understood this already, like, it's not about the chair. The chair is just a chair. And I don't know if you've seen this object. I mean, everybody probably has seen it on image, but I bet nobody of you saw it in real life. Which is okay, right? Because these objects are made in a certain time and they're influential for a lot of people. But the real object is then not so important anymore. So I saw this really beautiful documentary about Julius Schumann. He's actually a photographer, but actually modernity as we know it, like modernist architecture, is actually determined by him, how we perceive it. Because he made first a photograph for a few architects, and then they all asked him to do the photography. So you can look at this building from 100 perspectives, but this is the perspective of Julius Schumann. So when I had to do this project for my graduation, I didn't want to do any more. I didn't anymore want to make a product, and I didn't saw the sense of it also. But I wanted to make a chair. It's something I wanted already from the beginning of the academy. So I thought, okay, it doesn't have to be a chair that is physically there. It can be made from everything. So I just started collecting trash, and I made a chair. So actually this is all the same chair, but it's like growing. So it's also this idea of like, making an edition and then reacting on it, making another edition, till you come to a certain point that you cannot go back in history and find out where something came from. And that is so rich. I mean, the slums, going back to the slums, which is poverty in a way, but it's so rich because there are so many people touched it, felt it, changed it. So I photographed it one by one, and I sold the prints. So that was also for me, I had to find a way to get money. So I made it limited edition, which was for me money. But my real goal was that it was published, and it was published a lot. And so people saw it, people consumed it. So that was good. And I went to Paris one time to bring this photograph to a client of mine, he collected chairs, and his wife got really angry at him now because he had so many chairs that she couldn't move around in the house. So he found me, and he had like an opportunity to buy again a chair. So he was like rubbing it a bit in her face when I was there on Sunday morning. And it's traveling around like this. So this is the new app from IKEA. It's augmented reality furniture. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting, because this is, if we have this, we have just glasses like this, and then we don't actually need anymore this furniture. It can be just like all plain white or simple, and we just have these glasses, and we see through the glasses, we see like the design objects, and it's a little bit how we perceive the design also when we are on our computers checking all the objects, because most of it we consume through images. And then I saw the IKEA in China, and I thought, wow, this is another sort of projection. So this is the projection of real life in IKEA. This couldn't be better, right? So people are just living there, literally. I mean, this could be like the most amazing campaign for IKEA. And I thought, wow, why IKEA cannot start something from this, like a hotel or something, or I don't know. But this is just real. This is just people sleeping in the street. And I was just trying to find a place to sleep today in Barcelona, and it's super hard. And in China, it's not, maybe because everybody can sleep everywhere. It's just a sort of a cultural difference. People sleep when they are working, and people sleep on the working site, on a construction, or on the street, everywhere. And this guy is also nice. I mean, I just would like to feel so comfortable in IKEA, but I just cannot do it. Maybe if more people would do it. Okay, coming back to the object. So I found this Second Life designers, and I thought this is also very interesting. People who just design for Second Life. It's actually the same if we make things on images and we look it through virtual reality glasses. It's also design. So, but then I was wondering, like, these people who make these interiors, and other people buy them for their Second Life house, they look so normal, they look like real life. And I thought, why? I mean, why does it look like real life? It's in a way strange. So even if we're in virtual reality, we want to be connected to real life. And there are people making a lot of business like this. And I think it's great, because it's, okay, wait, this is for me, and then so this, that wow, this is a tire table set with marble on top, but in Second Life, in virtual reality, you don't need tires, because if you have a car, it doesn't really drive on asphalt. So your tires will never get old, so they will never be in a sort of second-hand shop, so you will never think about making a table out of it. And then I thought about that, and then I was asked for a workshop, and then I thought, okay, how does digital aging look? Because in the digital world, we don't have any aging. So we started making scripts for digital aging, which was very interesting, because digital aging is something that can be also totally different than real aging. The only idea is that it's like becoming, in a way, something else. So in the digital world, there's also a lot of trash, like, because everything stays behind. So actually, if you're being a designer, designing for the digital world is much more interesting, because the actually value of design is its creativity. So there's no production cost or material scarcity. So if you make a diamond in Second Life, it really is worth nothing, because you can copy it constantly. But if you make a really great design, then it's worth a lot. So it's actually the only place I was thinking about that design is worth a lot. So if you have this cappuccino in Dubai with gold flakes on it, if you would have it in Second Life, it would be worth nothing. I put this here because I was once in a plane from Milan, and then there was people sitting behind me, and we started talking about what did you do in Milan, and they were asked for a company in Dubai to make things out of gold. So they had the material gold, and they were looking for inspiration what to do with it. And always, I never forget it because I think this is sort of insanity, right? So if you have a cheetah in your car, I mean, in the digital world, it would mean also nothing because cheetah in the digital world could not really be extinct. I have to put this as well, like a tiger on a car. Okay, we go back to the chair. I'm not sure why it's here, but I have nothing to say. So this is a movie, I don't know if it works. So this is a Dutch girl, and it was very interesting because she got like super much media coverage in over a week. And what she did is she was said to everybody that she would go to travel, right? She go to a far destination, and she made a Facebook profile. And on the Facebook profile, she put all the photos of her travel, but actually she faked everything. So for her friends and her family, she was on a holiday. But actually she was not, you know, she was going to the swimming pool and taking photos, and now she goes to the, how do you call it, the sun salon. And she has a lot of videos, and I think it's a very interesting project. Also because Facebook is essentially also, I mean, a fake reality of our lives. Okay, so I made this chair, right, and I thought, okay, now it's still there, but I don't need it anymore, so I have to digitalize it. So I worked with this guy who had this 3D scanner, and I started to scan this object. And also because this chair became so unbelievably complex because all the I spent hours on it, hours and hours and hours. And I thought, wow, if you make a digital model out of it, you could never do it. You could never model it. I mean, it's literally impossible. But you can scan it. So and then afterwards, I thought, okay, I don't need it anymore, so I can burn it and make it flat. So that's what's left. I have like the 5 photos, and I've got a digitalized one, which I can maybe do something with later on, and a flat one, burned one. So I take photos of everything. So, and then I wanted to do something for an exhibition about this, you know, it's also about the tiger, about status, and about something that is worked very much in real life when it's good, you know, good quality. I mean, the Ferrari is very lot, but if you crash it like this, it's like literally worth nothing. So I asked the same guy to scan it for me, and so we got like this really complex scan of this broken Ferrari. And I printed also in real life size, and I made it blue. It's all polygons, but it's like millions and millions of polygons. It was very hard to process on a computer, but it looks almost like a hand drawing, and that's what I like about it as well, because it's almost like somebody have been doing this by hand. So this is a little bit like how I maybe also was before. And then I saw in China also all these people that were copying cars, making them themselves fake, just to have this sort of to have this status as well, this symbol. I mean, I like this one more, of course, because it's like sort of there's a human touch, and the guy makes it himself, and he feels very proud if he drives around in it. But this is just production, right? This is like a sort of a factory that produces a car and then sells it to somebody else. And this one I like also because this is you see in the back that they also make windows, so they make windows in cars. And it's, you know, the total opposite from the real factory, of course. And this guy, okay, he really understood it, and I was thinking about a project like that as well. So he thought, okay, well, I'm not going to make that much effort, but I still can have the idea of a Ferrari. So So he just made it from cardboard and he drives around in the city. This is another fake. You see on the right, you can maybe not see. Yeah, this is the car that it was, and they transformed it in this. And this guy make a Porsche, but you can bike in it, so it's a cycle Porsche. And brands. So this is a photo I took also in China. I really like the Armani sock he is wearing, the army with Armani, if you can see it. And I got amazed by shoes. Why shoes? Because shoes for me is something that it's really different than other things, because we don't have really logos anymore on our clothes, right? We're very plain and we don't want this anymore, but shoes is like the most extreme way of showing logos, of showing like craziness, right? So in China they fake, sometimes they are a little bit creative. But these Nikes as well, Nike is, well, if you buy a Nike, you don't buy a shoe. I mean, a lot of people have Nikes here, but you don't buy a shoe. Let's be honest, you buy a lifestyle, right? And Nike is saying, okay, we do some innovation, but it's let's be honest, the innovation is not that much. And the shoes of today, I mean, are like they get so much colors. I mean, they don't know anymore what they want to do. That's what I think. And the Essex of now, they really top it. They really top it. I mean, this is the shoes I've been making in China. So maybe they copy the idea a bit, but it's just. I mean, if you talk about design, it's like, I don't know. It's just I think it's just the status of the world, and they don't know anymore what to do. They just. But maybe you think differently about it. It's just my point of view. So my project in China is I bought a lot of, well, I just told you about it. I bought a lot of fake shoes there. I was asked to go there with an organization, and the idea was to do something with the local people, and also to do something on spot. So the times I went before, I saw all what you saw before. So I thought, let's do something with the shoes. So we went to buy a lot of shoes in my suitcase. I look like this dealer of fake merchandise. Oh, and that's why I see that Chinese people sleep everywhere, because they learn it when they are young. It just you have to nurture this, I think. So the fake markets. So Viola on the left, she was very good in doing business, like getting things for cheap and little, with a lot of laughing. It was a very good helper. So we got this space where we can do something with. So we thought, okay, let's make it into a shop, right? A flagship store, because of the idea of a flagship store I find also very interesting. So Dashilar flagship store, because the area was Dashilar, and I wanted to do this project really in the area. So we started cutting all the shoes up, hanging all the parts on the wall, and then we started putting them back together in different ways. And this on the right was students, so I also worked with students, and they really also enjoyed doing this, because it's also really fun, because you have all these parts and you don't have to start from scratch, which is actually quite frustrating if you have to really make a shoe from scratch, because it's super difficult. And you just can put them together and see what happens. I mean, it's fun. And the reason also why I did it like that is because, I mean, the shoes are so cheap. I mean, it's unbelievably cheap. So if you want to print, I make always this example, if you want to print a label in Holland, like just a label of a logo, it's more expensive than the shoe itself. And I have to also make the design. I mean, it's just, and it's a little bit also about, like, we as young designers, honestly, you know, how can we compete with this? I mean, how can we? We can work for these big companies and you know, do what they do, but how can we actually compete with it and feel good about it, you know? Because I know a lot of people don't feel good about the world of today and production and everything, but what is there to do? And I don't have the answer, but I just try to find out like alternative ways of, doing stuff. And I don't. It doesn't become really a product, but it becomes, an idea. Hopefully, others can work upon. So here's some of the objects. So and then people came in the shop and they wanted to buy the shoe. So that was very good. They understood that it was a shop, but it was not possible because it was a flagship store and it was very new models. So they were not able to buy it, of course, because they have to wait till. And I found the shoemakers in the area of around me to put the shoes back together. And I told them, okay, put the shoes together in a very quick, fast way, right? Because they have to stay cheap. So, and it's amazing how people work in small spaces as well. This is a couple, and they met actually in a factory, and then they proposed, and then they started their own shop because they wanted to have this independency of their own shop. So they work here, they eat here, and upstairs they sleep. But upstairs is just the red, on the left you see the red thing, that's where they sleep. So we are always complaining about the small spaces we have, but this is like super efficient. And I like how the things are stacked, like. So this was the first shoe. It was a very crappy shoe, but I was super happy with it because it looked nice. I thought, why not? You can walk with it. So I was convinced. Okay, we can do it. So this what started already getting better. It's a sneaker sandal, I call it, and I believe this one could really be made because it just looks nice. And I mean, if you see the shoes now, it could just fit in, I think. So this was the other shoemaker. It's not a shoemaker, but a repairman. You could go to him with literally everything that breaks. So that's very nice. Because it's a very social place. It's just on the street, and he does it already for I don't know how many years. But this guy really loves his job. He doesn't care about the money as well. It's just the other guy. He wanted to make a business with me, but it's super social. So he made the other shoes, and then we compared also like how the one makes the quality and the other. So we could like put a label on this shoe is made by that shoemaker and that shoe is made by that shoemaker. So we made a poster, of course, and then we asked the shoemaker to come to the shop to do it live there. So it was sort of almost like you could do it yourself, which was nice. And then there was a model coming in with no pants, I don't know why, but she also put the shoes on. And a lot of people wanted to try the shoes on, and it was really nice for me because then it becomes like something real. And this was Viola. And I still work with her. I go to China back, and that was also one thing was super nice. Like in Holland or Europe, I mean, I don't want to say anything about you, but like the students know a lot. But in China, the students are so eager to learn from new things because the way of education in China is totally different. You have creative schools, but the idea of creativity is something else. The idea of creativity is something that you do, and then you know exactly where you end up. But that's, of course, not creativity. It has to have profit in the end, right? It has to have, so when they start doing it, their parents pay a lot of money for them to go to the school. Maybe they take an extra job or work full time for their kids to study, and then they're going to study art, right? Then you want to know that it brings something. So this is totally different in our Western world. But I talk with a lot of people, and they say in 10 years it will change drastically and quick, and I believe so. So we're super eager to learn. So these were all the shoes on the wall, so people could take them off and try them on. This one was also nice. Well, Outsourced Lifestyle is the last project I'm working on, and it's just the name of the lecture, but it's not really all about that. Because I thought when I had to do this lecture that I will talk about this project, but then it ended up being really conceptual, and I thought, well, this is not going to really work, so I thought I need to show it a little bit more in the context of my other work. So Outsourced Lifestyle and hyperreality is, the hyperreality I already showed, right? The reality that is not anymore connected to anything real. It's just sort of a, I'll show you more examples of it now. And the outsourced lifestyle for me is the idea that everything, not everything, but so many products we have, we let them be produced somewhere else. So we have a lifestyle, which normally, or back in the days it was so that you had a product which was made by someone you maybe knew in your community. He took material from maybe the forest around. So there was some sort of loop, circle. And now, I'll come to that later. So I told you already about the monuments that I thought it would be great, but China builds more and more cities that are exactly like European cities. So Thames Town in China is like a town which is being used by brides to be photographed. Which is also so strange for me, right? If you're from China, but then it's like this girl from Facebook. It's not real. And this is also the Western world looking at it, the right perspective and the right context, because this world, this image, power of the image again, is traveled all around the world, and everybody said like this. China started televising the sunrise on giant TV screens because Beijing is so clouded in smog. All of them, they copy everything. But what actually happened is it was just a commercial for an airplane, and somebody took just a photo on the right moment. I mean, this is it as well, you know, seeing things in the right moment, in the right context. But is it then actually real? I mean, why not? You know, why not make everything like this? We're already doing it. So you can choose, or you know, this is also a nice photograph. I just show a few examples, but almost every big city that in Europe is copied in China. Some call it the post-apocalyptic as well. So I like the contrast with the mega blocks in the back. And he thinks it's super great to live in Paris. And why not, right? You have to don't anymore have to go to Paris. And Paris is also not nice for tourists because they all get robbed, so this is sort of more safe, communist Paris, which is maybe even better, you know? Also, of course, they did Holland, with all its cliches. This is Austrian village, I believe, or German. Oh, another one, it's mixed. But this one shows also the nice smog. Right? This one is also nice, I think. How long did I talk? Already? Oh, okay, that's fine. So I want to show as well this movie, and let's see if I can do it. This is actually not China, but Japan. But I'm also a great fan of Japan, very much. So we're having now this trend in Europe that we want. We have this trend in Europe that we want everything to be real. We want real food. We want real made in home food, and we want things that come directly from the pig on our bread and all these things. But maybe this dream of ours of going back to this period is just simply naive. I don't know. Because maybe this is the reality.
Berlin, Rotterdam, Toronto and others, but the biggest among them is Seagaia Ocean Dome in Miyazaki, Japan. The Ocean Dome, which is a part of the Sheraton Seagaia Resort, measures 300 meters in length and 100 meters in width, sported a fake flame-spitting volcano, artificial sand, artificial palm trees and the world's largest retractable roof, which provided a permanently blue sky even on a rainy day. The air temperature was always held at around 30 degrees Celsius and the water at around 28.
The sea is in the back,
The
right?
volcano becomes active
There.
every 15 minutes and spews fire every hour. An incredible wave lashed the beach for surfers' delights. The beach can accommodate 10,000 tourists and the kicker is that there's an actual beach only 300 meters away. It opened in 1993 and the visitor numbers peaked in 1995 at 1.25 million a year. This time, the Japanese inventors tossed a challenge to our Mother Nature. Actually, their cool beach is just a huge ocean dome, approximately 6 football pitches. It can house 10,000 tourists that allows everybody to lie on the artificial beach among artificial palm trees and enjoy the sound of artificial tide. The real beach is only 300 meters away and looks really lonely since it failed to win in this extremely stiff competition. Ocean Dome is situated on Japan's southernmost Kyushu island, 1,500 kilometers south of Tokyo. It has an 85-meter long shoreline and many shops. There are a lot of
It goes on for a while, but I mean, she's really happy with it, and I think this is just part of the world. Like if you go to Shanghai, if you go to Dubai, I mean, I was in Alat last week, and it's the same. They have an indoor ice skating thing, and in Dubai they have skiing, and I mean, these are worlds that we create because of, I don't know, money flows, economics, that are totally not depending on anything. They're sort of, I mean, they're virtual reality almost. And then we go back to the, you know, we want to make the things, in Amsterdam we have a lot of shops, probably here as well, like the homemade bread, the homemade coffee, all these things. Which I like, but in the context of the world, it's just, so I just tell a little bit about my new project, Outsourced Lifestyle, where I'm working on. It's about the relationship between the Western world as a world where we design, where we think of things, where we and the China and the rest of the world where we produce. And this relationship is very direct. So we design, we send something there, and they send it back to us, and we have the product and we sell it in our shops, right? But I want to do something that interferes in this process, so that in between and in the translation things can change. How it exactly will work, I don't know, but I got this idea especially from this, because this is the girl, like typically a girl who will go like to this homemade bread, and she will buy this homemade coffee, and she have, of course, because of that, she have this sweater which is also knitted by, I don't know, herself or her grandmother. And I heard this fashion designer at a lecture of him, and he was telling just about his company, how things work. And he told me about they were making a sweater, a handmade sweater. And they had to send this product to China, but this handmade sweater had to look handmade. What is handmade? It's imperfection, right? So then they had to learn the people in the factory to make imperfection. And they had a problem, because they couldn't do imperfection, because they are used to make everything super good. So, and then the other idea, I thought maybe, why don't you give it to grandmothers, make a nice project out of it, right? You give it to them and you knit it and you sell it, but yeah, they have like demand coming, and so it's not really the best idea, because I think you can really push grandmothers to produce very hard. But yeah, so we replaced her with a Chinese worker, so the grandmother became the Chinese worker. I mean, in my mind, in the way I see it. And this is an image that doesn't belong here as well, but it's an interesting image as well. It's a bomb, and this photo got all over the world because he was the most stylish bomb in the world. Okay, but what I wanted to say about this, because this is the end, is how crazy is our world, right? When we want something that looks as if it's handmade, and then we outsource this to another world to make it for us. And Banksy made once very nice. I have this on my wall. He said like, the lifestyle you ordered is currently out of order. And this is what it is for me. You know, our world is strange. Our world is complex. We should know this as designers. We should find out how things work. And there are many ways to go, but I think at least we should not be naive about how the world works. I don't know. So this, I have some photos, I guess, but it's just, no, this is the end.
Any question? No question at all?
It was a lot of things, right?
Yeah. We are still trying to understand it all.
And but that's the problem that goes on in my mind as well. And I think it is the mind of the designer, right? That you are constantly thinking about things. You see something, you think, how does this happen? And it's also sometimes so tiring to be like that, because why can we just not be somewhere and just be there? Because I had with a friend of mine a discussion. We walk in the forest together, like to get some air, and everything we see, we have to do something with. It's like the disease of the designer.
And how can we work in this direction? I mean, what do you think? You just criticize this homemade and this low tech and this. Did you criticize it, or you just reflected on it, or?
No, I'm just being a bit cynical, but I just try to do. If you talk about the lamps that we're doing, it's a little bit the same, right? So
yes.
we try to do this kind of projects, but I also don't want to be naive. And I see a lot of design projects that sort of pretend to be something, but when I see it, I think, come on. And especially when it goes about community and changing the world. I don't think that we can change the world at all, but I think we should be at least trying to understand the world when we do things.
And do you believe that this new production media, I mean 3D printers and so on, can introduce complexity to these processes and then become not really perfect? Or do you believe that just confirms mass production?
Well, I think what the designer can do, and maybe in the future hopefully will do, is like be part of the production process. Because I think what is very important when you make something, like what a craftsman does, right? He will not make, we sometimes as designers make a tabletop of 5 tree trunks. So we have to cut 5 trees for one table. The craftsman would never do this. He knows, I will waste a tree. Right? And that's I think that's what we're doing now. Because we are designing something and we don't really understand what kind of implications this has for somebody else's culture, but also our own culture. So I believe we should, in a healthy society, there should be production, a little bit of waste, everything that belongs to having what we have. That's what I believe. And I think if the designers can think when they make something about how to make something in a very nice way. So I believe in production processes, but how can we make them nice? How can we make the workers happy, Then I think this could be an extra role for the designer. But we're totally not in there. People want us to make products to be mass produced, or people want us to make ideas to be published. I mean, we're not deciding.
Hi. Hello. Can you hear me? I wanted wanted to ask you in regards to what you were talking earlier about your creativity and back to where you started your own process and your concept. We're like architecture students, we're almost finishing, and we have this feeling that we've never been hands-on to what we actually do, especially when you're in architecture. Like, you sketch a lot, you render a lot, but you honestly have no freaking idea how to do anything, how to build it, because you've never used your hands to use it. Yeah. So how is your creative process to actually build things, build objects, build like what it mesmerizes me is like how you actually come up with those very creative and crazy concepts, and then you actually do it. Mm-hmm. And so for us, it's very admiring, and it's also a thought that crosses our minds, how to materialize in reality all of those concepts that you think of, because we only sketch it and we render it. So my question is
I think it's a very big problem, because you see so many buildings that come directly from the computer, and they get built, but if you see how they're made, it's actually totally ridiculous. The strangest processes have to be invented to make something look like this rendering. Mm-hmm. And for me, my favorite architect is Peter Zumthor, which was actually first a craftsman, and then he started architecture. And he takes his time for a process, and I mean, it's a problem, I think.
So by having your own huge space, you were actually able to get down to your creative process. Is that what really helped you start your career where you are at the moment?
Well, it's certainly determined how I'm doing things now, because it could also. I always like to make things my whole life, so that was something that is naturally in me, I think. But having this community and making things in this kind of way, it changed my idea about how to do things. And when I started the academy, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to make this perfect chair, right? Like I showed. This is what I wanted to do. But it's and then I was finished, and I made these chairs from trash, and I didn't know anymore what I wanted to do. Yeah.
So if you're over analytical, it seems that you're super analytical about everything and really cynic. Then what happens when everybody's like that, and only the people that is not like that is the one that's producing things?
I don't know. But that's why everybody's different.
So do you have an intrigue about after you do all this analysis and criticize all the world that is surrounding us, how to actually cross and make something?
I'm not really criticizing. I'm just showing images in a sort of order. So I don't try to judge. Okay, I don't try to judge anything.
No, but at the end, I just feel that the people that actually don't analyze anything is the ones that are producing.
Of course. So I mean, it's also, this is just the way it is, and I just do it in first place. I just do it for myself, because I just want to know, and I just want to. I mean, I can also just work in a company and do creative work. I'm sure I can make a good salary somewhere, because I can do a lot of things. But I choose not to, okay? I choose not to have a lot of money, and I choose to explore the world in this kind of a way, which gives me what I said in the beginning. It gives me joy, fulfillment, but also a lot of frustration. So it's not the easy path, because most of the projects I do, they don't bring me any money. So all the money I get from something, I have to put in there and go there. So, but that's what I choose. And I don't know for how long. Maybe I will give it up and say I go and do something else later on, but this is just where I am now, and this is just, I don't know.
Okay, any other question?
Answering you, I think that in a way he's producing things. He's producing in another way. I mean, you're talking in the way of the mass production. Yeah, but I mean, it's only about the word that you use. He's producing, and this is another way to produce. And yes, of course, this is much common the way to produce that you said. But what is important, I think, that in designers and creative world is just to open this part of open the meaning of production also.
I don't have so much influence on it, I think, but it's just what I do, and I get invited here, and you know it now. So this is just this is my what I do.
I think that would be a great presentation for a business school.
Maybe they don't care about it at all. Maybe they go like in 5 minutes.
And I think it's very interesting what you were talking about, because for us as students as well, we are asked to create constantly new works, and we always, simply talking about the small things you use, how do you, the plastic thing that people use to make
Models?
that you cut with a cutter, and it's all plastic, and you
Styrofoam.
yes,
right?
and you buy a new one every time, and you create a new one every time, and it goes to the bin directly. And in the student life, it's always like this. And me myself, I think about it like I have to make a work, and I always create new things that after are going to be new things that stay there. And the thing that you propose is like to turn around the things that are already there to create a new life about them. And I think this is an interesting thing as well.
Well, I do that now, but I don't believe this is the solution, honestly. Because it's far too complicated, and it's far too difficult. I tried to find it out if I can do it, but honestly, I don't believe this is the way.
I don't know if it's a way or not, but it's a very good reflection about it. Like to focus on this and not on the other way of working.
I think, if you start doing something and you go in an area which is the unknown, and you start working there, then you will find out new things.
I think it can be a balance.
I had a great example from, because DIY was also a very big thing. There was this guy, he's a writer, a critic, design critic, forgot his name. And he was writing about this DIY chair, the chair that you can make yourself, and then he was analyzing what it cost. Like an IKEA the chair cost like €10, the DIY chair cost €400. And then you can really question the idea of DIY and I mean, and I think we have to think about that, we all want cheap stuff.
Because we are too lazy to construct it by ourselves.
There was this one artist as well, and I think it's great. He made a toaster, a bread toaster. And what he did is he made this toaster from scratch. So he went everywhere to get the raw materials, and then he put it, so to make the plastic, the metal, everything, which is super intense. And then this toaster, I don't know how much it cost. He put it in a shelf, and it worked like for 5 seconds. And I mean, the world is connected to each other, so it's very great that everybody works together to make something for us. But the way we're doing it now, I don't know. I don't think it's the best way. But these are the bigger problems of the world that I just don't even wanna. I just like the phenomenons, and I put it together, and then well, that's it.
Okay, just wanted to tell, it's common when there's a lecture or conference that the students say they are afraid, they're scared. And just let me tell the students, any of the students that see it, not to be scared, not to be afraid. The future is good, and don't be scared on your work, on your process, on your creativity. Just believe on you and be happy, okay? I think. No, because it's really common. I don't know. Don't worry. Just enjoy yourself.
Well, that is what you have to say as a director of the school, right?
Yeah. That's my part. Any other questions?
We will not leave the career after his speech. It will be.
No, don't worry. That's not the point of my sentence. The point is not to be scared. I know the world is strange, but I think.
But also very interesting and very, very
Absolutely.
diverse. So it's super nice.
Absolutely. Okay. So again, thank you very much, Sander, and thank you all. a nice evening.